From 1968 to 1970, we started to lose tournaments. And I'd asked the USTA, would you do a women's tour? Because I was getting nervous. We didn't have a place to compete. You could see the handwriting on the wall. And they said no.
We were women. I mean, it was point blank that we didn't deserve it. There was no reason for the women to be paid equally. And remember, this is the 70s. I mean, women aren't supposed to be in professional sports. We're not supposed to have a career.
Most of them really felt we should just get out of tennis. The American men didn't work for us at all. All the agents said that women's tennis will never make a dime. Nobody will watch us. I had players tell me, I wouldn't, even if it only cost 10 cents, I wouldn't cross the street to watch you guys play. It was just a horrible, very tough, lack of respect time. So Rosie and I and Nancy Ritchie talked to Gladys Hellman in 1970.
Gladys was a good spokesperson. She was, at that time, the publisher and editor of the World Tennis Magazine, the largest publication in the world. And I think she understood the situation, and we felt she would be a good spokesperson for us to use, and she agreed.
And so she put on a tournament in Houston, Texas, in September of 1970. And it was an 8-person draw at the Houston Racquet Club, and it went back and forth whether it was going to get sanctioned, whether it could be pro. It was a nightmare.
We needed to sign a contract in order for the USTA to accept the sanctioning of the tournament. They would not sanction, and of course, all clubs belonged to the USTA. If you're going to have any tournament, whether it was amateur, you had to have a sanction.
I said to Gladys, she said, well, I can't afford you guys. I said, well, just $1 is fine. And she goes, $1, you do it? I said, well, it's just as binding, isn't it? We just have to sign a $1 contract. Gladys, let's face it, we're just going to try to make something happen. And we said, we really need a tour. It was a lot of chaos at the club because we're inside the Houston Racquet Club. Gladys has called the media. She has 2 photographers, thank God. So we have some historical context. I said, you know what, just wait 1 second before we do this. I'm going to call the president of the USTA and said, I don't want you to read this in the newspapers, but we're signing a $1 contract. And he said, don't do it, you'll get suspended. I said, I've asked you to do a women's tour the last year and a half, and you won't do it. And he says, no, we're not going to do it. So I ran around this wall. They had already lined up. They all had their dollars. They had $1 for me. I think I stood between Valerie Ziegenfuss. They had a space for me. Valerie Ziegenfuss and Nancy Ritchie. They handed me the dollar bill, said, here's your $1. Bing, photo, ching, ching. This is how fast things were happening. So that's it. It was done. We signed a $1 contract with Gladys Hellman, and that was the birth of women's professional tennis the way we know it today with the WTA Tour.
Everybody felt, oh, what a mistake. You guys signed a contract. Now you can't play these tournaments. Can't play the Grand Slams. And, we had taken a chance there. I think we were already geared up to understand the consequences.
The original line were very clear on the risk we're taking. Were we scared? Yes. Were we feeling alone? Yes. Were we excited? Yes. But we had to do it. I like to dream about how I want the world to look. Even as a young girl, I would. But if you notice, everything I've tried is to keep the men and women and all genders together. I used to say it's not just what we can do if we were one union together on the court, but what we could do off the court to make the world a better place.
Really sort of hits you that you were such an integral part of women's tennis history and sports and just history in general, I would say. 50 years is a long time, but when you go back in time and you remember the time, it's very special to be sitting here and talking about it and knowing that you were responsible.